Hello. Hi, hello, truly universal fam, and hopefully fed. If you're not fed, please nurse yourselves. Please get a snack. We'll wait. We can wait. Um, Before going on our short hiatus, because if you don't know, I don't think we made it official, like anywhere on social media, but Truly Universal is taking a hiatus. We're taking a little bit of a spring break, I guess you could call it. So before we do that, we wanted to do a live session, a live recording session of our next episode for you, which is on the Marvel Cinematic Universe's series, WandaVision limited series. Sorry, Machi's barking. Hold on.
Machi.
Oh,
She's excited.
Oh. Hey, Mikey.
Yo, what's up, Mikey?
David.
Matt.
He just has a lot to say. Also, Machi was also heartbroken throughout WandaVision.
So Meg's gonna go take care of Hamachi.
Yeah. So, hello, everybody.
What's up, everybody? What's up, folks in the chat? Oh, Dave, you're getting ready to go. He's drive safely.
Oh, Arizona.
Travel well.
That is the
Dave.
The arrogance
Friday,
of man.
Mikey.
Yes, Friday. Thank God.
We need some emojis on our stream.
Yeah.
I guess we don't until we got to become whatever it is.
Affiliate.
Affiliate to get emojis on Fiverr.
I just got a sword.
Oh, cool.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. Meg said, I'm hopefully you're fed. I just finished a bunch of confessions, so I'm just I'm eating dinner right now. So
I scarfed down a whole meal before getting on.
I should have done that.
Nice.
Now you guys get to watch me eat a shrimp quesadilla.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Did you make that with that pan that?
Yeah, thank you for that pan, Ian.
Yeah.
You're muted, Meg. So you're leaving again. So it's okay.
Bye, Meg.
Before we get into that, did I tell you the story, Ian, about how I was so confused?
No, please go ahead.
So when you text me asking if I got the pan, I was like, that's such a random question. Or you asked, did you get a pan in the mail? I was like, that's such a random question. I just kind of forgot about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then weeks later, the pan showed up at my door, and I was just like, did I order this impulse buy? What was that? And it wasn't until actually Janelle posted about her getting the exact same pan that was like, did you buy this for me? So I was asking her if she bought it for me. She was like, no, I would have told you. And then I was just so confused about why I got this pan. And then I went through my text. I literally searched pan in my text messages to see if somebody had. Anyway, and then
did you also get pan de vida when you were searching? Did you find
pan de vida? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Anyway, thank you, Ian, for the pan. It served me well.
Yeah.
Anyway,
what is everyone drinking tonight? Everybody? Anyone?
I've just got some tea here.
I have my Maku.
Okay.
I just have water.
I have a water, which I can put. Well, no, forget it. Water. Yeah.
Sorry, Machi's he does this every single time. Last time when we did D&D, he was like so calm and he was just laying there like, wow, Mom, like you're just doing some cool things and I'm gonna be a great like pup son. And then as soon as I went live, he just went. Now he's just farts.
I wish so too, Mikey. I wish it would be perfect if that we could put it in the oven, but other than that, it's cool.
How much he does this one to spawn the podcast? That's true.
Yeah. He does. He's like, y'all just call me a mascot. I can't say anything. He just has a lot of things to say, you know? He spends all day thinking to himself, just has things to say.
Just trying to get that money. That's what he is.
Okay, so the reason we're here today is because, one, this is the last episode of Truly Universal Season 1.
What?
Crazy. We're going on a little bit of a spring break. We're going on a little bit of a spring break just because Hamachi is our PR director. Yes, he is. We're going on a little bit of a spring break just because we want to put most of Truly Universal core members are also Urban Picks core members. So we have a lot of things planned for Urban Picks for spring to summer. And so we want to put our energy in those things for now. We definitely will come back to Truly Universal, but we thought we might as well end on this note of what's been really on everyone's mind, which is WandaVision. I know the average nerd, you all talked about it last night on your Twitch, right? So we're going to talk about it also. Ian and I were talking earlier, and we're like, oh, that could have been a really great collab. Whoops. So we're trying out a new kind of format where we do the Geek Out session live with you. And it's going to be interactive, so you can talk with us, because I know that some people, when they listen to the Geek Out session, they're just like, I want to be part of that conversation. So you get to be part of that conversation this time. And then so we'll do that for like 30 minutes, we'll see. And then after that, we'll do a live recording of the episode. And so during the recording of the actual episode, we may not be able to interact as much. Hello, Cosmonaut. I was going to say Coconut from Mars. That's not. Whoopsies. So during the actual recording of the podcast episode, we won't be able to interact as much, but if you have great points, we might just put it in here and put it in the podcast, so you get to guest star in our podcast for that reasons. Other than that, I think Rents is in the chat, and he will be happy to respond to things and make sure that any questions you have, like, we'll be able to answer in the end. So that's kind of the rundown of what tonight's going to look like.
So we get to ignore them, is what you're saying at the second half of this. We just totally ignore everybody.
The first, it's just real gaslighting. The first half, which we're all about them and what they're saying, and the second half, we're just like, don't have time for you. Rents takes bribes, I think, in the currency of things Amber's craving. So, whatever that may be. So I don't really think I need to introduce everyone here. Like, this is the hashtag TU Comics crew. Like, every time it's a comics universe, it's us four. But I guess, like, what brings you here today, y'all?
Well, I was summoned. That makes sense.
You don't remember how you got here. You just hear my voice and feel a sense of hopelessness. I'm here.
Yeah.
I have been summoned. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I got a page. Got a page from Nick Fury. Came from all the way across the galaxy.
Anderson.
Yeah.
Galaxy of Anderson.
Yeah.
Might as well be.
Okay.
Pretty much.
So our Geek Out session is just a combination of things I like to talk about as a host, which is the Would You Rather game, which I like, and I had some self-doubt for a second, like Wanda did, and I was like, should we even do this? And had a little bit of an existential crisis, but we're like, nope, this is fun. And then also we're going to do escalator pitch section, which is something that my brother introduced because we're in COVID and we can't be in elevators safely, really. So we have escalators, which are a little bit longer than elevators, depending on where you're going, right? So you have a little bit more time than an elevator.
Unless you're jogging up the escalator.
Is the cosmonaut from Mars Marshawn Lynch?
No.
Okay.
I'm here so I won't get fined. What?
I'm here so I won't get fined.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm here so I won't get fined. Sorry, my Marshawn impression. I got Skittles and I'm here so I won't get fined. Sorry.
Oh, sports.
I see sports ball. It's funny because I see a picture of Marshawn Lynch almost every day at work, or going like in. No. The handle van.
Yes. Yeah.
It's like it's right next to my work.
Yeah, he has a street team. He's just
the street team van is right next to my work. Yeah. So
is he your mascot? Do you see work with Rotor?
And what a great mascot!
Just really confused.
I was like, are you going to Subway and he's rolling up in a giant tire? He does that too. I don't know. There was a Marshawn Lynch commercial recently. I don't know.
You've gone beyond of my knowledge of Marshawn Lynch at that moment.
We can do.
Apparently, I don't know sports or commercials in general.
I did see the go-kart at the Berkeley game. That was great. Okay.
got lost in the sauce. I don't even know what we're doing here anymore. Escalator pitches. Escalator pitches. If you were talking to someone about WandaVision, and I've had to do this with my father the other day because I went to pick up Machi from my parents' house, and I told him to watch WandaVision. My dad was like, the first episode is really boring. Like, is it all like that? And I'm just like, no, Dad, you just have to watch it all. So I had to do a little bit of an escalator pitch for him to be like, basically to prove like, it's worth watching. And also just to like, without spoilers, explain what's happening. So for you three, what would be your escalator pitch? Like you're on an escalator. Someone's like, only saw the first episode of WandaVision, and they're just like, that was weird. I don't know if I want to watch it anymore. Why are you so gung-ho about it? What's your escalator pitch?
Oh, hey, Kyle. Kyle's on the thing. Hi. How are you?
What's up, Kyle?
Ooh, I've been switched.
So I thought you were going to start, Ian. I thought you were like, oh, hey, Kyle.
So I'm on the escalator. I see Kyle. There's a, hey, Kyle, do you like nostalgia? Do you like weaponized nostalgia? Watch WandaVision.
Wow. Okay.
That's a really short escalator.
That's really, he has a very short escalator.
Maybe Ian running up the escalator. I'm kidding. Who are we kidding?
Steps.
Ian running up an escalator?
No, God.
Ian running?
Ian running? No. So it's like, or one way of putting it would be, do you like seeing someone's grief process if that person was nigh omnipotent? Watch WandaVision.
Wow.
Why, yes, I do.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that was good.
I guess you and I have very different definitions of good.
Nice.
It was enticing. It reels me in. I'm just like,
see,
if I was an average person, what do these words mean?
That's pretty much what I was thinking of. Is like, WandaVision is a good way to see how a person, well, in this case, a superhero person, can deal with grief. And then if we're on an escalator, I would immediately start running down the escalator because I would be done. And like that. All right, bye. Just run down.
And because you were crying.
Oh, we're imagining that the escalator's going down. I've just imagined it was always going up. But
this one is going down. It's easier for me because momentum, it will be faster for me. So
you run down escalators.
Yeah.
But you don't run up them?
No, because that requires more energy.
It would be effort, I see.
Yeah.
I see. That's like. What I love is the airport things that just cannot. They just go.
Oh, can we just?
Maybe we're on one of those.
Yeah, we're on those. Can we change it, Ren?
Okay.
Because as I was hearing about running down an escalator, I got a lot of anxiety. I was like, "What if you fall? They're sharp. The steps are sharp."
Also, yeah, the moving sidewalk, the moving floor pitch. You don't have to worry about like your shoelaces getting caught in the the little the step thing. You ever heard about that or see those? That they have to shut that emergency stop button. They flip it, hit the stop button because some kid's shoe got stuck in the escalator.
Oh, better you said shoe than some kid's foot. Or
well,
leg.
You know me. I don't look at feet. So
that's true. That's a deep cut.
All right.
Father Ash, you have
mine. Okay, yeah. My escalator pitch will be slightly different. My thought. So how I would convince people is, it's really like one of those mystery TV shows where you're just trying to figure it out. If you like that, trying to figure out clues. If you like Easter eggs. If you like theory crafting with like some really fun, interesting characters. Also, I think if you wanted to see Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany like do some amazing acting and comedy, more comedy. Vision got a little bit of comedy in other movies, but if you want to see them like in different settings with some really I think the acting was phenomenal. So if you want to see that, and then more Jimmy Woo. I mean that's my pitch.
And Darcy.
Darcy's great too. All that chemistry was great. Flourish.
and then you walk. And do you start walking a little bit faster because then you're done, so you just get away from that situation?
Yeah.
Or you leave at one of the platforms between the moving floors that they give you as like a way out.
And then when you wait long enough and they're further advanced, then you go back on it.
No, you go on the other one so that you meet eventually and you can look at them. Think about it.
Okay.
You see Mikey's comment, Elizabeth is a best Olsen twin, so that's so funny.
She is an Olsen and she is a twin.
She's not a twin.
She's not a twin.
No, as Wanda, she's a twin.
There you go.
Sokovia.
Sokovia.
Okay,
Is she technically a triplet because she has Pietro and Pietro? No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, okay. I was like, wait a minute.
Pietro and Pietro.
Spoilers? Are we saying, like, did we even announce at the beginning? Super spoilers!
Oh, spoilers! Ian, drop the song.
There's a song?
I don't know. Make one up.
Spoilers. That's all. I don't know. It's not really. It's just 2 words. It's 2 syllables.
There's a lot of. I mean, it's like anytime we're on one of these, there's gonna be spoilers. It's not like we're, just talking about the trailer for an hour.
Just passing through. You were just passing through. Oh, Urban Pix is on, and then you just got spoiled. I'm sorry. That was my fault.
Avenging Pineapple. What is the topic? We're talking about WandaVision. If that's.
Right now we're just doing elevator pitches for somebody who hasn't seen WandaVision. I think we're done though with elevator pitches. Oh, Meg, do you have one? What was your elevator pitch to your dad?
No, my elevator or my escalator or my moving airport floor pitch. It's too long. Was Dad, just watch it. Trust me, that was all I had. That's why I let you all say it first.
You convinced me.
I just have a very convincing personality.
Oh.
So let's enter into my favorite game, which is Would You Rather. I have 3 Would You Rathers here. Number 1, would you rather be in the 50s to 70s sitcoms or the 80s to present sitcoms? So thinking about wardrobe, thinking about language, thinking about food.
Language. I make all my major decisions based on language. I'm just kidding. Oh wow, that's
Avenging Pineapple. You missed our escalator pitches. I think Ian, you should say yours real quick.
All right. Avenging Pineapple. Do you like? Which one should I use? The more mysterious one. Okay.
Yes.
Do you like nostalgia? Would you ever like to see weaponized nostalgia used in a grief process by an omnipotent being? That's WandaVision. Coming out, see it. Yeah.
There you go.
And then I would try to. Oh, good.
See, you won them over. Yes, that would be cool. You won them over.
You got it.
There we go.
So going back to the would you rather be in the 50s to 70s sitcoms or the 80s to present sitcoms? You could do what Avenging Pineapple did, which labeled a specific decade, but I really leave it up to you.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of grew up through the 80s and onward. We all did. So maybe that'd be fun. If I had to pick, it's a would you rather. I'm just going to go with that because of familiarity. I know where to find the Pop-Tarts and the Pop Rocks. I know where, I know the catch lines. I'm pretty good at them. I can't think of one right now.
Nice.
Yeah. But no, yeah, I think and then just for pure, you talked about clothes and everything. Yeah, I would feel more comfortable. Although the 50s, 60s, 70s clothes looked cool, I just feel more comfortable in the more modern clothes. That's where I would go. It's all about comfortability for me.
I see. Thank you for sharing.
I agree with Father Raj. I would totally be in the 80s and present sitcoms. I don't like being in a suit. That's it. That's. But I totally agree with what Father Raj said. Like that's the era where we grew up. So that's the era I'm more comfortable with trying to be in, quote unquote, to be in that era. Yeah, because the 50s and 60s, or 50s and 70s, that's a whole entire like era of people that went through it. So it's like sort of hard to understand. Well, not hard to understand, but it's more difficult
to imagine. Yeah,
to imagine doing that, like being in that.
I got one more add on it. What I would say also is that I think the sitcoms in the later eras have better theme songs, and I would like to act in those theme songs. Like the ones from the later eras, the intros and the theme songs. I think were better.
That's fair. I liked in the later ones when they did like the Office type of introduction. That was pretty cool. Malcolm in the Middle was funny as well.
Malcolm in the Middle was like spot on.
Yeah, that was my favorite. I think that was one of my favorite intro.
We have a request for Father Raj because every episode he sings something.
The Growing Pains theme song. Let me pull up the lyrics. Let me see.
I don't even remember the theme song for Growing Pains.
Go ahead. We can move on. You can. I'm going to practice. I'm going to mute my mic and practice. The first thing first thing happened when I Googled growing pains was symptoms and causes. The Mayo Clinic. Growing pains are often described as this is Google typecasting me. How dare they? Not that old. All right.
Avenging Pineapple. I suppose I mean live in because they're living in it. Like if we look at it from the view of WandaVision. Oh, I guess you haven't watched it. So live in. Forced to live in, if we're going to be more accurate.
I think 80s for me because you still have the kind of is that rose-colored glasses, the money, well, nothing bad's ever going to happen kind of thing. You don't have the craziness, but the night. Well, I guess we'll go modern times, but I would be before 2000s or before the aughts. Because we're pre-war on terror. I don't know. I know JB's like, what? Wait, what?
What?
I mean, life was simpler. I think in that sweet spot of maybe when we were growing up.
Vandross,
True.
Oh, the 50s, yeah, because he wasn't alive. Yeah, that'd actually be really interesting too. Because I'd say. With the 50s, pre-Vatican II. I'm scared.
Oh no! It was not a great time for women, so I would avoid it. Okay. So next question. Would you rather be, and this is a spoiler for those that have not watched it, would you rather be hexed like the Westview people from the beginning, hexed, or later on happen upon it as like one of the sword people end up being? So like, would you rather be like one of the Westview people like Dottie or I forgot their other names. Dottie, Eugene, I don't know, random names. Norm? Or would you rather be like Monica and Darcy getting hexed later on?
I would be.
Oh, go ahead, James.
Oh, okay. I would be the later half. I would rather be people with sword because you learn later on that the people who's been there at the beginning, they were going through. They would have the nightmares. They would have they would feel what Wanda's feeling, and I wouldn't want to live through that. So I'd rather be one of the people that come in later, be one of the clowns, I guess, because that circus part freaked me out for a split second. But other than that, but yeah.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I was gonna say that, or I was gonna ask, like, do you mean like also like it comes with the pain, like feeling Wanda's grief from like for the amount of time that the people that were there already?
That's up to you to think about.
Yeah, so
I want to leave it open-ended so that it doesn't turn out to be biased.
Yeah, my thought would be I would like to come in later because then I have at least a little bit of autonomy, and I can, I know a little bit about what I'm getting myself into. Obviously, Wanda's powerful. She could. It doesn't really matter. Does it matter? I guess it.
What matters? That she's really powerful?
No, whether when you come in, because ultimately,
oh yeah,
you're gonna get taken over.
Yeah. Either way, you feel her pain because even Monica felt it too.
Yeah, exactly.
But Monica got powers. Ian, any thoughts?
At least the latter half, they're military. They know the risk. Whereas the first ones, they were just kind of caught up in something, and when they were all somewhat released slightly, they were like, "Please let me see my family. Please let me both." And I was like, "This is horrifying. Like, this is terrible."
Or like, kill me. Like just, I was like, ugh.
Yeah.
Oh, that was so sad. The part where the lady was just like, "If you're not gonna let us go, just let us die," and I was just like, "It's intense."
Even that first reveal with oh gosh, I'm forgetting his name, Norm, I think, and like him, like the pain that he had when Vision like unlocked him, like I was like, wow, this is like serious pain that he's going through. It was intense.
Yeah, like the suddenly being disconnected from your family and like not really knowing why. Crazy.
Yeah, it didn't feel like a happy sitcom anymore when they were doing that.
Yeah.
And on that note, should I sing this theme song now? I pulled up the lyrics.
Yeah, you ready? You ready?
Please do.
We'll see. All right, so Ian, feel free to hop in with some harmonies or anything.
I will.
There's actually
try.
There's an echo. Do you know the echo part? Anyway, here you go. Yeah, I'm gonna try it. I hope I don't start it too high, but let's see. Show me that smile again. Don't waste another minute on your crying. We're nowhere near the end. The best is ready to begin. As long as we got each other, we got the world spinning right in our hands. We got each other, sharing the laughter and love. There you go. An ad popped up. There we go.
Just start singing the ad.
That's amazing. Is there like drums in there, like a 80s ballad drums? But I don't know.
Yeah,
I was about to jump in, and then my mind gave me different lyrics. I was like, no, I can't sing that. Believe it or not, I'm walking on it.
I'm walking on it. Yeah, Dave. Yeah, thanks for the request. I did set a little too high. I hope you thank. Yes, good save. I tried to save myself, but anyway, there we go.
Well, that's awesome. Our Father Raj sings count. We're out of 1. So if anyone would like to count, not to put pressure on
this is going to be a thing. Okay,
should make it a thing.
I'll just drop in other theme songs throughout the show, right?
Just do it, please do. Anyone else? Any thoughts on that? Would you rather?
How about you?
I mean, if I end up like Monica Rambeau, where I end up having superpowers, yeah, I'll go that route.
So she got the powers because, according to the show, she kept going back and forth into and out of the hex. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
The radiation.
Okay, so it's not as if those who've been in the hex longer just end up getting like powers or anything. Okay.
Yeah, I think it was actually passing through the shield was what the force field is what caused her to change.
Astrophysics and things.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's not how this works. That's not how none of this works.
It's a different universe. We don't know how any of it works.
It's like we had a friend who had a jellyfish metaphysics dissertation.
Oh yeah. I mean, I still have that.
I think. I have
a printed copy. somewhere in my files.
Yeah. In this universe, Jimmy Woo is, super cool. And you can do that. You can bring cards out of nowhere,
He practiced.
Magic.
It's magic.
Magic than the Scarlet Witch. Just kidding.
It's magic.
Okay, so on that note, we talked about how there's like parts of this where it's like true sitcom, and then there's other parts where it just becomes real drama. So if your life were to become a TV show, would you rather have like a Disney-esque like sitcom, everything happy, everything ends happy, or would you rather have like an HBO drama where it's like intense and like full of lots of violence and drama and adult things?
Oh.
I guess it depends on what character you are and what you're experiencing.
Yeah, that's true.
Like if the main character, I would probably be more of an HBO drama because there's more drama. Or
I want a horror
because it's just imagining being in a Disney sitcom. If we're just imagining just like the actual episode, like how it is, not like what happens behind the scenes or anything like that. I don't know if I can be that happy all the time, or like.
In light of that, HBO for me too.
It just seems a little bit too much for me because with HBO drama, there's a lot more things that can happen.
Yeah,
and it's probably I see it as more exciting.
Yeah, for me, I'm an eclectic reader. I'm an eclectic watcher. I think there's value in all of it. Like, we can learn from the dark stuff, right? Via negativa, we can learn from the good stuff.
Via positiva.
Via positiva, beauty.
Or sorry, just via.
We just call it via. We call it via or beauty or whatever.
Yeah.
This isn't exactly a question, but I think of those family, the more family sitcom-esque kind of shows. But some of my favorite episodes are the ones where they do have drama, like where there's super tension, like in Boy Meets World when who was it, the teacher who gets off his he gets in a motorcycle crash and at the hospital and all that stuff.
Mr. Turner.
Mr. Turner. That's and that's one of my favorite episodes. Or like
Family Matters with the racial profiling episode.
Yeah, those are good. Like intent. Like so, even the dramatic moments of those sitcoms, I think they're really powerful and they leave a lasting impression. So
if we're, like going on that, and like my favorite episode of WandaVision is the previously on episode where we just learn we learn backstory, we learn about the emotions of Wanda. That is my favorite episode. Not like I wanted, like I'm happy that we got to see Wanda in a comedic role. I think in the Assemble video that they just released on Disney Plus,
the documentary, like Elizabeth Olsen said, like this is the only time she's ever been like a comedic role for Wanda. Like this is the only time she's been funny. But the fact that the episode we got where she was serious, it was just, you see her pain, you see her trauma even more compared to before. Yeah, the funny like set up the intensity of the drama. I thought it was super good.
Yeah, definitely. So we we're running out of time on the geek out sesh, but I did want to end on talking about what are favorite characters, favorite lines, just in general. JP already talked about his favorite episode, which is previously on. So let the people know favorite characters, favorite lines.
Yeah, I wonder what folks in the chat would say also. But like my favorite characters are I like Vision. The scenes where Vision's trying to figure it out, because as I mentioned earlier, the mystery part of it. Like when you see him coming to a realization that, wow, who am I? Even that question at the end is about who am I? That dialogue between Scarlet Witch and Vision is one of my favorite moments, when he's like, I've been a voice without a body. I've been a creation without without being human. And then he asks what he is now, and then she says she's, the whole identity stuff. That all that was super fun to me. So those lines are great. Her line. So Vision is one of my favorite characters. I really like Agatha. I like Catherine Hahn's acting. I think she's great too, and so I think she played the part really well. And man, like week to week, I was like, oh yeah, Agatha. I mean, all the clues were pointing to her being Agatha Harkness. The brooch and everything, and then but every week I was like, oh, but maybe they're doing something different, and the way she played it was great. And and then when she full on becomes Agatha, it was even though I knew it was coming, even though I was expecting it, she played it super well, and it was so satisfying. And then Jimmy Woo, it was great to see him flourish, but chump in this role. So.
Oh, me? Oh, okay. All right.
Wait, it's weird.
No, you're the other way. Yeah. I guess for me it was Vision was key for me because I enjoyed him having to essentially talk with himself. Another self that hated him is kind of weird. The whole Theseus ship thought experiment is just made me just remember, oh, yeah, this is from college. I remember this very distinctly. Catherine Hahn's acting was so great, but it does remind me a lot of her acting is very similar to Parks and Rec, where she plays what was it? The campaign manager for I think Bobby Newport, who was played by Ant-Man's Paul Rudd. So the energy is very similar. The energy is very much the same. I could easily imagine Agatha Harkness saying, "Wanda, honey, I won't lie to you because I don't care enough about you." So, yeah, that's yeah. Oh, Dave, I appreciate that you wanted to zoom in on me. Right, fantastic. Okay, cool.
And the glorious beard of yours, definitely.
I'm gonna hide that. Try.
You can't hide it. Anyone else? I like Darcy. I like that one character that just is mostly funny, but is has somewhat of a pivotal part. I just like the way that she figured out that there was a TV show going on, and then also just the scenes of her and Jimmy watching the show together. I just thought that was hilarious. And
way to pivot to get her doctorate. I mean, more power to her, girl, to go from whatever she was studying, interning for. Yeah. And then she shows up.
No, she was inspired, physics, astrophysics, yeah.
Amazing.
It was great. It was great to see her.
And I also I like Monica Rambeau's character as well, and having to see what she went through during the blip and losing her mom, and then coming back to everything, and then just the compassion she had for Wanda throughout the show when everyone was just looking at her as this villain, this weapon, this someone out there trying to hurt. Monica looked at her as someone who was hurting, which I thought was really important. Just some of the little things that she would say out of compassion for Wanda, when everyone else at SWORD just wanted to, basically destroy her. Any other thoughts? Okay, so we're coming up at the time that we are scheduled to start the actual recording of the podcast. So like I said at the beginning of the live, at this point, we won't be able to interact as much. If you have any points that you want to go off of what we're saying or any insights, we'll gladly include it or bring it in. But if we miss anything, any questions, any comments you have, Rents is in the background taking note of everything, because we want to make sure that we still address the things that you say. So this is weird. This is the first time we did it. I don't know how to transition from this session to the actual recording.
Read your intro. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Have you do the intro.
Oh, okay. All right, let's do it. Where is it? Oh, here we go. This episode of Truly Universal was filmed before a live studio audience. Oh, this is Truly Universal.
There wasn't much of an intro. Like, oh yeah. So, anyways, welcome to this episode of Truly Universal. We're talking about WandaVision. There's two things specifically we wanted to talk about, and things that we had a lot of insights on, which are grief and identity, two major themes throughout the show. So first, I do want to talk about grief, and I want to start with this quote that Vision says. He says, "What is grief if not love persevering?" And so we're looking at Wanda's transformation throughout this show, throughout this series, going from grieving so many loved ones, through that suffering, through that pain, into what happens at the end. And she goes through what is called DABDA in the psychology world: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. So I just want to ask you all, how you, like, which parts you saw that grieving process most within Wanda throughout the show.
There was just a whole bunch of denial.
Yeah, definitely a whole bunch of denial.
So how are you doing this? I don't know what you're talking about. It was like a refrain. It was like a constant refrain. Like, just constant.
Yeah, and when she was challenged to face her own, when she was challenged to face her own denial, she would get angry, right? And she had that moment where her and Vision were like getting into, they're flying towards one another. It looked like they were about to fight, right? So there was some anger. I think there was a lot of bargaining with herself, in terms of like, well, I'm only doing it this much, or the people. I think when she's talking to Pietro, she talks about, all the people I've mind controlled, it's okay because blah 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 blah. I'm taking care of them, or they're like, he's, so there's a little bit of it all, and I think that's definitely something that the showrunners, the directors, the actors, I think they did well in kind of showing that.
Any other thoughts? Well, when we're looking at how Wanda goes through her like stages of grief, we see, even though there's all this magical, mystical, weird stuff going on, and at the same time this weird science going on, whatever science exists in the MCU universe. But when she's going through all this stuff, we see this very human idea of like when someone is grieving and they're trying to avoid that grief, when they're in that point of denial, it can tend to affect everyone around them. And we see that in the part where, we see that in the part where, yes, do you have something to say? No. We see that, especially when we start being able to hear the actual thoughts of the people within Westview, when we hear Monica Rambeau. Sorry, hold on.
Oh, Hamachi.
Tuna. Is that correct? Is that the translation?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's a Friday.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm good. I thought that was a fish fillet. It was not a chicken strip.
For those for those that are watching on the stream, this is actually how we record these episodes. We just all this random banter in between the.
It's great. Welcome to our world. Welcome to WandaVision. No, I don't know.
Yeah, 90% is me dealing with Machi. So we saw the effect of Wanda avoiding her feelings and her grief. I mean, no one's going through that. No one has to lose their brother to Ultron, or has a sentient being that's not really human as their lover who they have to kill and watch die twice. No one goes through that. But we all have gone through some kind of grief, or like watch someone we love go through that kind of grief. And oftentimes, like, that avoidance can affect the people around us. And I think one of the really interesting things that Rambo says is, I just remember hearing Wanda's voice. Someone said, "Did you try to fight it?" And she said there was this feeling, this hopeless feeling. It was grief. So I just want to hear your thoughts on that, on this idea of like avoiding grief and what that does. You know, in this universe, it's a little more Hollywood, but I wanted to hear your thoughts on that.
I think the rules of grief are truly universal, in the sense of like if you even translate it into the MCU, it's like, yeah, go ahead, avoid the grief as much as you can, and she ends up literally projecting a whole other reality on top of people, which limits who they are, right? And which cuts, like, as complex as she made the thing, she could transform all this stuff, and she made like backstories for people. She reduced a bunch of people to just, when Vision was getting closer to the hex, like the boundary, and it was further away from Wanda's like power, in a sense, like people were just kind of like doing the same motion over and over again. And then he looked, and there was like a tear, like there were tears coming out of their eyes, because it was just like, I'm just stuck doing this. I'm just this to you. Like, when you have grief here, and when someone refuses to face their grief, things start playing out in their mind, and then the rest of the world's still going, and it kind of collapses the whole richness of the world in front of them into just, they might be replaying their grief, they might be some coping mechanism. So yeah, that was a lot. Sorry. Continue. Anyway.
Yeah, I in response to that, I think what you're saying is spot on, Ian. That the thing that we experience when we lose someone, or when we have some tragedy in our life, that's universal. And then how we as humans try to deal with it, we've identified some key ways. And so whether that's in fictional stories or in like our own life situations, we can see when folks are trying to deny, or when they get angry, or they're bargaining. But to get to Meg's question, how does this affect people? In WandaVision, we see it clearly, right? It's oppressive, the kind of this what Wanda was feeling. But I would, what I would say, and what I would say is that it's not necessarily the grief that is oppressing people. It's definitely how you allow the grief to manifest itself, right? For her, she was projecting that into people's minds and hearts, and that's what they were feeling from her. And if that's what we do, if we don't ask people for help, but we just simply keep projecting, this anger, this darkness, without there being a real relationship, then yeah, it can be toxic. It can be damaging. That's what happened with Monica, right? She didn't really know Wanda, and all she was getting, and all the people in Westview, they didn't really know Wanda, and all they were getting was like this darkness put on them. On a super random other note, I was just recently catching up with another show I like, Top Chef, and this is a real show, real people. But one of the contestants who was a finalist, she was saying, how healing being on the show was, because for like a year and a half she had lost her brother, and for a year and a half she didn't realize how like damaging her actions or words or decisions were to the people who were trying to care for her, to love her. And so, yeah, grief in and of itself isn't oppressive or offensive to others or hurtful to others, because I think grief is incredibly important. And we can come back to that. Grieving is incredibly important. But if there's no relationship, or if we don't express it in healthy ways, it can hurt us and it can hurt others.
And it also comes with like knowing someone's whole story. Like, I feel like if that town saw what we saw when she was going back into her memories, like how differently would that hopelessness and that anger and that sadness translate in their minds, right? They only see like the surface level. And like so many times, like maybe we've seen that with people where it's like we have this idea of how long people should stay in these different stages of grief. And so when someone's in a certain stage for too long, sometimes like you start like losing kind of compassion or empathy. Sometimes like people start just looking at you for what your grief is showing on a shallow level versus like remembering the story of how you got there. Getting emotional talking about Marvel Universe. How weird.
So that's what I mean. That's the reality of what literature does for us. Right? It presents a mirror for ourselves to see the situations, and so yeah, WandaVision is that, right? In the good and in the bad, we can identify with a lot of the characters, right? Some of us, we go day by day, like exactly what you're saying. We can go day by day, not caring about the grief that other people have because we're just concerned about ourselves. And yeah, the people in Westview. They didn't have a choice, right? Magic and other stuff. But then somebody else like Haywood, like he had choices. He could have recognized Wanda's grief, but he didn't, and that led to a lot of bad things.
I think one interesting part was when sorry, hold on.
Well, maybe JP, like, do you have any thoughts about that, about grief?
No, I like what you guys, what everyone was saying. But what was I gonna go with this? Seeing people's reactions to Wanda's grief, like you said, everyone that was in the city only saw the darkness in it, and Monica saw the same pain that she's feeling. Mm-hmm. So she knew exactly, like she was out of all the people, she was the one who was able to understand it. And what I was gonna say, and then Agatha was to the point where like she knew something was wrong, but the way she figured it out through manipulation, like it seemed it was more like Agatha thought in her mind, I'm doing the right thing. I'm trying to stop her. Blah, blah, blah. But then, like, by doing that, you've actually unleashed the thing that you were trying to prevent in the first place. Being because the previously on episode, that was her trying to figure out exactly what's going on with Wanda. Because she had the previous episodes try to figure it out, but she couldn't. But so she needed to go deeper in. And by doing that, you were forcibly making her experience the grief again in a way that she doesn't want to, which I think also, like, as a person, you don't want to do that with someone who's experiencing grief. You don't want them to go into it forcefully. It's just something like that way, because then you could probably get a negative result coming from the person who's dealing with it already.
I think with Agatha Harkness, she was looking at it very scientifically, surgically. Very, very no empathy. Like I need to know why you have this power and how you have this power, and thus she didn't care about what kind of grief she re-put her through.
It's like, it's your cue. You go, do your thing, do it. Like, no empathy coming from Agatha.
Yeah, and it was very reminiscent of exactly what Wanda was going through when she was going through all those tests and when she initially got her powers. It's like, how many times have people like poked and prodded at her, which has led to Wanda and like most of the movies just being this serious role, starting from being like a weapon to being this like kind of ticking bomb within like the whole universe, the MCU universe, and then also in the comic books when we think about her story arc. Any other thoughts?
Yeah, I wonder if we can talk about the quote from Vision and really talk about how grief can actually be a good thing, right? And Vision compares it to love, and Vision says that to her in not in talking about their relationship, but in talking about like what she was experiencing with Pietro, that grief is love persevering. And this is one of the things that as a priest, I know I'm privileged to be invited into families' conversations, into their mourning process, and it's real privilege to hear their stories. And as painful as it is sometimes, it's incredibly beautiful to me when a family comes in and through their tears, they share some of the most beautiful stories of love shared between two people or between a community of people. They will remember, some amazing details or some like incredibly beautiful moments. We can think about watching WandaVision and we look back at these moments, or we were talking about this before we started today, but you watch the Marvel Legends featurettes that they were doing where they show the story of Wanda and they show the story of Vision through all the movies. And we look at those and we're like, man, that's so beautiful, so tragic. We were rooting for them. We want them to have peace, right? But all of that is to say that, okay, now that when you've lost that, when you're sad about it, it's a testimony of love, right? That when you are heartbroken because you've lost a loved one, when you are sad because you've lost a loved one, you're grieving. Your grief is a testimony that there was a real love that you shared with one another. And in some certain sense, grief is a good thing because it reminds you that you were blessed. And so then grief is exactly what Vision's saying. Grief is love that you shared with one another, persevering. It continues to echo forward, right? And that's what we should be doing with our lives. And so if somebody grieves our loss, then it means that we loved well. And so I think it's a beautiful thing. I mean, and so that's why like Jesus shows us that grieving is a good thing, right? He weeps, right? The shortest line in scripture, Jesus wept, right? It's important for us to see that, okay, the God of the universe, the most, and God made man, he also cries, he weeps because human relationship is important. When we get to share, it's a good thing. And when we lose it, it's a sad thing because love is a good.
And going back to that quote, I heard it in the beginning and then I didn't go back to it. But like the lines leading up to it that Vision had, where he was talking, well, he was like kind of like, like going through the feelings with Wanda without really knowing what they are and saying like, I've never really felt a lack because I've never really had love or like anything that loved or loved me or whatever. I don't remember the exact words he said. And so, like on the note of what you're saying, just affirming what you're saying, Father Raj, this idea that grief, even though it hurts and like in the moment it sucks and like we feel like we don't want it, it shows us that like we were loved and it shows us that we've loved. And that's like something really important and something really crucial. And when we're looking at the suffering that came with Wanda's grief, we see that immense amount of like suffering turned into like and transformed Wanda into this like tapped into this like new power, this newfound power of hers, pretty much changing her identity and like seeing how like for us it's like when we go through like points of grief, we have the power for either something extremely terrible, if that means like the way that we cope or the way that we treat others thereafter. We've lost something. Sometimes people just stay in the angry phase for a really long time, or it could turn into something great, like getting through the whole DABDA levels and phases, learning from what had happened, either making us stronger as people or putting us in this point where we feel like, well, we need to love harder knowing that we've lost something. And so like in that we see like in Wanda, that's manifested in her like taking on these new powers, being the harbinger of chaos, and how that's really changed her identity. And so I want to talk a little bit more about still talking about grief, but a little more about this idea of identity in the show, because like we've talked about from our points before, we see that in her grief there are people that have villainized Wanda, and then there's people that have empathized with Wanda. And we see that, in regular people too. Like when people are grieving, like people either villainize them or they empathize them. So my question mostly is do you see that happening? Is that just a me thing? Like seeing that, like when people are grieving, people often villainize them or like not understanding and kind of like look at things the way that director Tyler does? And like how that changes someone's identity outwardly to people around them.
I like to say that with when it comes to villainizing those who are grieving, again, it's easy to do. This is in a strange sense because on some level, like I kind of villainized Wanda because when I realized that she was controlling all those people, I was like, that's not right. Like that's nowhere near right. That's not even good. Especially when she turned very cold when Vision was trying to confront her about it, right? And remember that scene where he's like, you can't just, you can't control me, like, and she's like, can't I? And like when she did that, the way that she said that, I was like, oh, I don't know if I very much like you right now, Wanda. Like, and we all know people who when they grieve, they bite the hand that feeds them. They bite the people that try to get close and try to like comfort them. And it's hard not to, and I don't want to say, maybe not the word villainize, but it's like, oof, like when you're tempted to be like, I'm just gonna leave you alone because you won't respond well to anything. But that's not necessarily a good thing either.
Yeah. The phrase villainize there, I think we all react to other people's grief in a variety of different ways. I think here, what I would say first is that this is where there's probably a stronger departure from what happens normally in situations because this is fiction versus real life situations. So like the thought that what is happening with Wanda, a lot of it is because she is a superhero, because she has powers, right? So when we look at why Agatha wants to manipulate and take advantage of her, because she wants to get that power, and Director Haywood, he's like that as well, right? Like he has ulterior motives, right? But we don't in normal human interaction, that's not how we normally interact with those who are grieving. A lot of the times, it's rather than villainizing them, we don't necessarily give the energy to understanding them, and I think that's where the real danger is. But I think what Ian was saying is it's so important that when we are caring for people who are grieving, we should allow them the space to grieve, but we also have to call them to something greater. It's something we've talked about, on this podcast and other things. Are like, what is good is in universes, people that are on an adventure, people that are on a journey, is like, you got to keep going. You got to take your rest. You got to take care of yourself. We should normalize grief, but authentic love desires what's best for one another. And so I think Wanda even villainizes herself, right? She recognizes like the brokenness in herself, and thus, even if we want to say that Vision is that manifestation of her conscience or whatever we want to say, like, because she created him, it allows her to get to somewhere. And I'll end with this for this, just this last thought. In that conversation at the end, when she's like accepted, when she's got to the place of acceptance, when Vision asks her, "Who am I?" she says a few different things, but she also says, "You are my sadness and my hope." Right? And that often is where I try and get people when they're grieving. That's why I try and journey with them. Like, it's okay for you to be sad. Grieving is beautiful and powerful, but you got to do it hand in hand with a hope, right? And so that's where that Monica's phrase or quote from earlier in the season is so scary, right? Like, she said, like, it just felt like grief without any hope, and I think that's where Wanda was. So when we see people fostering that hope is paramount.
I wanted to circle back really quickly, just the idea of that quote about love persevering. Also, I think grief too is a sign, yes, that what was love was done well, and I think it's a sign that love is done so well that it will be fulfilled again at the end.
Ooh.
Like I think grief is eschatological, right? Like, it looks forward to a time when the love is perfected, because if it was perfected, it wouldn't have gone, and now it is. We are looking forward to a time where, the tears are wiped away from our eyes, that kind of thing. So, it wounds. It's like how Aristotle talks about beauty, right? It wounds us. It makes us realize we are incomplete.
Yeah, it makes us desire something that we're missing, right? That is exactly what mourning is, right? You mourn the loss of something. You recognize that something that you had, you don't have right now in the loss of a loved one. But the hope is that that'll be filled eventually, reunited again. That's why going back to that scene, how beautiful is it that Wanda says, we will see each other again, or whatever it is, or we'll have another hello. I can't remember exactly what she says. You remember?
Yeah, we'll see. I think it's shoot, I forget.
We'll say hello again.
We'll say hello again. Yeah, we'll say hello again.
Oh. I had to pause there, man. That was wow.
Yeah. WandaVision, eschatology. It'll save the world.
Also pausing because Machi was barking.
I'm just I really had to take a pause. No, we're good.
I did want to bring up, because I thought there was one part that was really interesting to me, where, and I don't know if we remember this part because it was kind of really quick, but where Billy and Tommy lose their dog Sparky. And then Wanda has this conversation with them. And I remember listening to it and I'm like, this is extremely ironic considering where this storyline is going. But she tells them there's rules to life and you can't reverse death. Death is one of them. You can't reverse it. And then the boys were like, no, mommy, you can do anything. Bring Sparky back to life. And then you see Agnes or Agatha and she's just like, you can do that?
Yeah, I mean it's similar to the conversation that she was having with director Tyler, right? He questions her motives for seeing Vision, for taking his body, because she thinks that she might try to bring him back to life, right? But she says, I can't do that in that scene. But then she, in her grief, goes and attempts to do that. So yeah, the irony is in that line was, I felt like it was similar to somebody who's grieving, who is like, it's, you can speak it to yourself and you can speak it to other people, but it's hard to take it to heart. And for her, that was part of her process of just saying okay, this is what I'm going through. By speaking this to other beings, maybe it'll take root in myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like someone who says yes all the time, trying to tell people, you have to say no to safeguard your energy and your time. Yeah.
It reminds me of a homily that Father Mike Schmidt gave one time, talking about how capacity for humans to do things even that they say they would never do, or even things that they hold as personal policies to never do. But when they go through tough times or when they're grieving, they do things that they promised themselves they would never do, or things that they know for fact are wrong. And that all comes with this. We see this throughout WandaVision, this struggle of identity that Wanda has. It's who is she without all these people that she loves? Is she in fact this monster that people play her out to be, villainizing herself in that sense? And as we're going back in through her memories, we're really figuring out who Wanda is. and a lot of the things that makes her a quote unquote monster are things that like other people have done to her. And so I wanted to also look at the identity crisis that Vision goes through when he meets the other Vision. The other Vision.
Was that one Ghost Vision? Is that
White Vision in the comics is what he's known as.
And looking at the conversation that they have in the library of the role that memory tends to play in identity. And so Wanda, she's like looking at these memories in this new light as she's like grieving and seeing what's made her her. And even though she's like convinced that she's a monster, that she knows she's not what Agatha is like trying to make her out to be. And we see also with Vision having this struggle with Ghost Vision.
White Vision.
With White Vision about identity. So Ian, I know we talked about this a little bit, but do you want to talk about the analogy he uses?
So the ship of Theseus is you have a ship and you replace bits and pieces of it through the years, and then at some point you've replaced all the material of the said ship. Is that still the ship of Theseus? Similar things, like, you know, if you have a broom and just you own a broom at home, and you just, instead of if it starts to wear down, you just replace the bristles, you replace the handle. You're like, is that the same broom? And then we start thinking about personal identity, right? So if you have a gaming PC, or if you yourself, right? According to your cells are all different from when you were the cells of a toddler. Like physically, what makes you? Sorry, I thought of Christopher Walken. What makes you? There's several theories as to what this is, but I'm trying to remember how did Vision come up with what he was saying to the one?
Well, White Vision answers him by saying neither is the ship of Theseus, and both are the ship of Theseus, which is a common answer to that question, right? So simultaneously, it's both and very Catholic. But simultaneously, it's like, okay, there is so much of a truth about it being the same thing, and then also there's something that is totally different. And when we talk about the question of identity, like I think it's important to ask then, okay, well, what are you trying to say is true, right? So what is your standard for truth? This will get us into a lot of deep physical waters, or philosophical waters. But my initial response when I was seeing that, actually, I think it was beautifully done with Vision as well, because it's like he's been asking this question of who he is the whole time, and it's in a strategy to convince the villainous Vision to stop attacking him. He uses this brilliant strategy of like, well, okay, if your programming is to attack the Vision, but aren't you the Vision? And so in as part of the plot device, I think it was brilliant. I really enjoyed it. I know a lot of people are like, why did Vision disappear? Where did he go? But like for me, it made total sense. Coming back though to that notion of identity, it is so like, okay, well, what is an identity? And we're probably going to get into that question soon. But like for us as humans, we would recognize that it's a union between body and soul. I'll stop there.
This begs the question. The question: does Vision have a soul?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, Soul Stone.
Mind Stone?
Or Mind Stone. Sorry, Mind Stone. I mean,
this made it really anti-scientific.
I would say in this universe, he's not an android. So I know you guys have covered androids in AI and other truly universal episodes. I was one of those folks who's, as you guys are talking and listening, I was listening to the podcast. I was like, I want to chime in, but you guys have touched the issue of androids and whatnot. But Vision's more than an android. He's a synthezoid. But he's got organic material, right? That's one of the major things. And I was just rewatching Infinity Wars, and it's like they talk about how he is born of so many different things, like literally. The Mind Stone has with it, an essence that goes beyond just, a computer. And then and then he talks about, Bruce Banner's input, Tony Stark's input, right? Ultron's input, right? So there is something beyond just what is material with Vision, and I think we see this with how Wanda's able to actually bring something new to life with even this fake Vision that he does. He has an ability to love, and so if he has an ability to love, he has a soul.
Okay.
I mean, that sounds good. I like it. I approve it. I approve it.
I've not,
in this universe, right? Like we don't have synthezoids in our universe, so
do it.
Well,
Do it.
Yeah. Well, no.
Google be knowing a little too much about me sometimes from the ads.
Oh, are we returning this to another AI episode?
But does Google love you?
You're right. I've told
Don't ask
hey,
for that.
Google, I love you. And they're just like, I can't. And I'm like, wow. That was the quickest end to a relationship I ever had. Okay. Sorry for the awkward pauses. Like, Machi just keeps barking.
No, you're good.
The worst it's ever been.
Totally fine.
Okay.
He's grieving the loss of Sparky.
Yeah.
He's like, my boy Sparky, you're not talking about him as much as you should. He also watched this entire series with me, so I'm sure he's got things to say.
No. What is a pickle if not a cucumber persevering?
I like the one from the Average Nerds podcast stream the other day of what is cheese if not milk persevering.
Yep.
Shout out to was it Priscilla who said that or April?
April said that.
Good. There's a lot of things like that. Yeah.
Amazing. So I did want to bring it back to Father Raj earlier was saying like, oh, we're gonna talk about what identity is, and so let's just get to it and talk about that. Because we see in WandaVision, we see the struggle of like Vision figuring out who he is through the other Vision. We see Wanda figuring out who she is after all this loss, and after being called the Harbinger of Chaos and the Scarlet Witch, and after this whole, I don't know how is this like a day? Is it 2 days? Is it 3 days? Is it a week? Like I don't know how long. What is time? But it's like this week or two or a month of Wanda avoiding reality and kind of losing her identity in that. And also we kind of just see like maybe also this like kind of stunt in personal growth because she refuses to go past the denial part of grief. But anyways. So as nerds, as Catholics, as Father Raj, a priest here, as human beings, how do we find identity with all the pain and loss, even when we don't want to remember? We see that Wanda tells her boys like you can't avoid this. You can't just like fast forward your lives like they had done prior to that. Fast forward, like age up, just to avoid the grieving the grieving part of the process because it makes you who you are. So how do we find our identity with pain, with loss, with all those things? I know for me personally, it's like 4 or 5 years ago, I lost someone that I loved, and that took me on this like 1 or 2 year long process of like refiguring out who I was. And it took like a relationship that was me like hurting another person a lot and me being in denial that I was to figure out how my figuring out who I was, and my avoidance of that reality affects the people around me. So when we talk about our identity, because we always change, like Scarlet Witch changed after this grieving and this loss. Whenever any of us as humans deal with grieving or loss, we go through this identity change thereafter, and we don't end up being a really powerful being in the sense that Wanda does, but we do end up being a different person. And so how do we do that? How do we find our identity? How do we get through all of that post grievance, post hurt, post pain?
First, you sit with it. I think you become present to it, and you have to. The only way out is through. Is something that one of my cousin keeps telling me. Is sometimes when it comes to like really the kind of life-changing, almost soul-breaking, heart-breaking things, it's like the only way out is through it. Like you can't bypass the pain. Like you have to, in a sense, embrace your cross, take it up and follow, right? And that includes like doing the work the mental work, the emotional work. That includes like if you go see someone, go see a professional, read the books you need to read, find the ways to take care of yourself. But I think you first start with sitting with it, being present to it, and not necessarily having to have an answer to it right away. You're just kind of there, like with Job and the three friends of Job. Like they did their best work was when they just sat with him. And then after they started opening their mouths, later God's like, you don't speak well of me at all. So anyway, yeah.
Yeah, it's very Lenten, right? This notion that, okay, you've got to journey through it. You got to go through the desert, but sometimes you just got to sit in silence or in quiet or in rest so that you can continue on the journey, and that's okay. And so, Meg was alluding to this earlier, but it's not, there's no. We may want to rush people through grief, but people have got to journey through it themselves, right? And so when we grieve. There's no necessarily straight plan for it, but when you need to rest, when you need to take steps forward, might you have the courage to take steps forward, and then the hope. That's where hope again is so incredibly important. That is to trust that through the desert there's something better.
Yeah, with fighting identity with the grief, like I agree with what Father Raj and Ian were saying, and Meg as well, where you have to confront it head on. Yes, there are people to help you out. Yes, there are ways where you can lessen it, but it's you have to go through it, because with like Meg said, through this pain, through this loss, you become another person, and hopefully you become a person better than you were before. And in terms of like finding, like, you don't have to do it alone. You don't have to be constantly pushing through the grief the entire time. Take your time. Find the calm in the storm when you're dealing with grief, I think is very important. For me, when I was dealing through grief a couple of years ago with losing a loved one, I was trying to push through it, but I felt like the times where I was dealing with the grief, the best were the moments where I would just sit down and just be alone, or not alone in my thoughts, like being able to just sit there and like listen to the wind, listen to something else for a second, and it just kicks back in and it will help you.
I think we're coming to that time, and I think it'd be cool to end with this, talking about what can we learn from this journey that Wanda went through, that we followed through this series. Wanda is finding herself after losing herself. She realizes that she can't just avoid these hard feelings. That's all part of her identity, a part of who she is. In the end, she accepts this idea that she's the Scarlet Witch now, and what does that mean for her? And she's like educating herself on what that means. And so for us, and as we're speaking to the audience, what can we get out of this journey that Wanda's going through? What can we get out of this journey of grief and identity from WandaVision? Just now we're back on the moving airport platform, and it's not a pitch, but more so like a summary of what can we get out of WandaVision in those departments of grief and identity.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to something that that the showrunner Jack Schaefer, that she said about the show. I mean, a lot of people were disappointed with the finale. It didn't have a big bad. It didn't have there was all these theories about somebody was gonna come and all these other expectations. But for her, she said the big bad was grief, and they wanted to tell a complete story about grief. This was the story they always wanted to tell. They wanted to help us walk through Wanda and her journey through this. And that's one of the things I really appreciated about how they did the finale. It was Agatha kept pushing Wanda to oh gosh, you're the Scarlet Witch, wanted to force that identity on her, and it was like it was so much a focus of that. But I liked how they wrapped up this part of Wanda's grief process, that story was completed, and she was allowed herself to complete that story, to let go of her twins, to let go of this created vision. She let that happen totally before she started addressing the real question of who she was, and now in this newer stage of life of becoming this harbinger of chaos or whatever. Like Jack Schaefer, she'll talk about it, and other folks involved in the show will talk about it. Like, if they had introduced another character, it would have felt like you robbed Wanda of that opportunity to really process what she needed to process, journey through what she wanted to journey. And so, for me, that's what I think is something that we can learn about life and this. We don't need to rush on to other things. A lot of things are super fast paced. Sometimes, just as JP was just talking about, sometimes, we just, and in the end, we just gotta sit with it. We just gotta be with it, and that's okay. We don't need to rush through.
I think I've learned to Wanda's powers are insane, right? Of course, and she can do that whole thing. But we, in our own grief, we do the same thing. We map a whole world onto a real world, and a lot of things just start to kind of play out as something which turns us in on ourselves, right? And if those of you who know the real ones, if you remember Universe 24601, love draws us out. We have to have that schnick love, right? That we have to move beyond ourselves, and grief can oftentimes trap us if we let it, right? And so just as how Hugh Jackman has been schooling us on how to be people, I think Wanda here also is, and the Vision, who isn't even really a human, both are schooling us on how to be human. A witch and a synthezoid. Love it.
That's good.
Walk into a bar. Sorry, go ahead.
All the shameless plugs to put past episodes.
Exactly. Yeah, right. Wasn't that us? Didn't we do the things?
That was
us, right? That was us.
I'm calling back to us.
I do want a little bit about what Father Raj was talking about. There's so, our society kind of glamorizes pushing through things and working until you drop, and just totally glamorizing the person that keeps pushing on and doesn't avoids their grief and just keeps doing what they have to do. And there's people that need to do that. But I think there isn't enough people talking about or empowering those who let themselves feel those feelings. And like going through WandaVision is showing us that that's important. Like you have to feel what you have to feel because that's all part of the process. You have to surround yourself with loving people, not just people that make you feel good, or like this curated comfort for yourself. But also, like, even though it kind of sucked the way that Agatha forced her to go down memory lane, I think it was also important for her to remember her humanness and to remember that even in the places where she's lost, she's felt great love. Prior to losing her parents, she had that very loving moment of having TV night with them. Prior to losing her brother, she had this moment of change of heart with her brother, where they went from working for the bad guys to working with the Avengers.
Spoiler alert! If you haven't seen it, it's been 10 years or something.
I think we're good.
Okay.
So, and it kind of brings it back to like Inside Out kind of situation, Pixar's Inside Out, where it's like with sadness comes joy, with suffering comes joy, and with loss comes love. You know, bring it back to Vision's quote.
Yeah, I really dig that. The reality is that grief and love and joy and happiness is messy. But like the Inside Out comparison, you know, some of the most important memories are the ones that have a little bit of both, right? That they just have these mixed emotions. The thing that popped into my head, Meg, as you were saying, is that as I was reading and listening to some stuff that compared Agatha's character like a therapist, right? Where she can seem like a villain with all the prodding or the questions, but in reality, she's helping somebody. And we know in the show she had ulterior motives, but she really did allow Wanda to kind of revisit those moments and see what was good, what was bad, and maybe what she could learn from those things, right? So, as even though it was a bad thing, maybe she found goodness through it. Via negativa. Via agativa. Agatha. Via. No?
Keep going.
Sounds like a medicine or something.
Or like a fake sugar.
Yeah, I was gonna say fake sugar or like a probiotic.
Oh no.
We should do a WandaVision style commercial for that. Via agativa.
I'm thinking of the Activia.
Oh yeah, the yogurt. Oh no, let's not talk about that yogurt commercial, which is actually playing on my TV right now.
Whoa.
I put it on to pacify Machi. But yeah, I all in all, in summary. Oh, JP, do you want to?
You guys you guys already said like amazing things. I didn't really have anything else to add on because everything you guys were saying, like I was just like, yep, I agree. I totally agree.
Like 10 seconds of silence for you to hop in there. Like I was waiting for you to go first.
I was trying to think things, and then you guys were already saying them. So like, this is cool. I like this.
RT.
Via Agatha. Sorry.
JP's like Senor Scratchy. He's just in the back. We know he's really the mastermind behind everything.
Exactly. I'll eat that bird.
Ooh.
Oh gosh. Oh no, it was a fly cockroach bird.
Fly cockroach bird. Yeah, showing the magic.
Gee. I think this is a great place to end. We've talked about grief. We've talked about identity. All in all, we've talked about how WandaVision can help us all learn how to deal with grief and how to find ourselves after loss. That it's not as clean as a sitcom. It will never be a clean ending like a sitcom, but it is a constant journey, and it takes a lot of love. So with that said, this is the end of our last episode of the Truly Universal Season 1. I'm Meg.
I'm Ian.
I'm JP.
And I'm Father Rush.
The hashtag TU Comics Crew. Thank you so much for joining us today. I know it was rough. I'm sorry about Machi. He just got a lot of things to say. He's an extrovert. I'm an introvert. But thank you to those joined us on YouTube, on Twitch, and those who are going to be listening to us in post once this is on Spotify and other platforms. Thank you so much for joining us here today and letting us just geek out and also be emotional, Marvel things.
Are we gonna hang out still? I don't know. It's Friday night. I have nothing to do.
Yeah, we can hang out. I mean, does anyone have any questions?
That was the end of the podcast, I guess. But
yeah, that was the end of it. Yeah.
Ethan, do the thing.
That's where we cut.
Is there a? Let's see.
we're gonna
Someone we can you can raid. I don't know.
Theory crafting. Oh, we can hang out.
Ooh, theory crafting too. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, we can hang out. You got time? You got time? We can hang out.
Who is?
It's the weekend.
Thanks, Dave, for the listen and for the words of affirmation. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
Did someone say theory crafting?
Oh, Rent is here for theory crafting.
Uh-oh.
I forgot you were there.
Okay, I don't know how to tell you guys that the main recording is done. So this is just a Twitch stream right now. So you Twitch and YouTube.
Nice.
By the way, shout outs to YouTube. You guys didn't see this, but on
I
YouTube,
saw it.
we had okay.
Oh, I saw it too.
I saw it too. Yeah.
I didn't quite.
I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Oh, we're not on the
Hello.
YouTube anymore, are we?
Yeah, for those on
We're on-
Twitch,
We're not on the YouTube right now, are we?
No, we're on YouTube and Twitch.
Oh, okay.
We're on both.
Okay.
We're on both still.
Yeah.
for
We
those
greet you.
on Twitch, Mephisto came. So all those who were waiting for Mephisto to show up on
He did.
WandaVision, he showed up. He showed up on our YouTube. So
Showed
he
up
said,
on our
"Hey,"
YouTube.
he said, "Hello."
He said hi, then hello.
It was,
Dave's like, oh my.
I know.
He
Yeah,
probably
showed up,
laughed when
Dave.
we talked about how he's not the big bad Grief
I know.
was.
He sent out bots right now to fill in any live stream to show that he is there, that he can appear.
And
Good
he
episode,
said-
guys. I was listening on the back and I was getting a little emotional. I was like, man, this is good stuff. This is TU at its finest. So thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
all.
Mikey. Oh man, yeah, he showed up. I don't know. He doesn't have a Twitch account though. Maybe I don't know why he didn't show up on Twitch.
You got banned on Twitch.
He's
The
old
TNCs are more strict on Twitch than YouTube.
True.
I can finally see Rents.
Mikey's happy.
Yes,
to
the
be
moment
here.
you've all been
Yes.
waiting for.
Yep. I'm
Yeah, with
more
his
apparent-
Trailblazers sweater. Get that out of here.
Sports. Lost in sports.
You know, I just wanted to make an appearance more so than Doctor Strange not appearing on the final
Ooh,
episode.
hot takes.
Well, I mean, they mentioned the Sorcerer Supreme, right? And
That's
how this is going to
that's
play
all
into
you-
the next movie, right?
That's how you
Senor
need it, I think.
Scratchy has the same initials as Stephen Strange. He was there the whole time, guys.
Did you
Sorcerer
see-
Supreme, Stephen Strange, Senor Scratchy. He was there the whole
Steven
time.
Universe.
Steven- did you see that who were they interviewing? Was it Kevin Feige? That the deleted scene was that the rabbit was a demon.
Yeah, I forgot who said it, but they said and it was Monica and the twins go down into the basement and destroy it, and Senior Scratchy transforms into a demon.
And they have like this Goonie fight scene. Is what
Yeah.
it was.
I hope they release it on the deleted scenes in the future.
I really hope they do a gag reel. This out of all the things that all the Marvel stuff, this has to have a gag reel because it's a TV show. It literally is a sitcom. They have to do it.
If you watch the WandaVision or the Marvel's Assemble documentary, there's some bloopers and some behind the scenes stuff that's pretty funny.
Yeah,
But,
I just
I was watching
Yeah,
it prior to
started-
going live. It was good. It was good.
didn't know that totally shocked me that they actually recorded the first couple episodes in a live studio audience.
Live studio
That was-
audience.
I was just like, that's actually pretty dope.
In
Wait,
chairs
really?
from the 50s.
Yeah.
Like, so it was like modeled after like a real thing, and they did multiple takes, and they so
What? So that set they showed like when Agatha was going through, was it on previously on? That was the actual set.
I think so. Yeah, they
That's
flipped it around
crazy.
to show that it was a real set.
Mm-hmm.
That's so cool.
Yeah, so yeah, for the first, what was it, 3 episodes or 4 episodes, they had a live studio audience.
This is random, but also like I was watching the part right before we went live. I was watching the part where they were interviewing what's the actress for Monica Rambeau?
Tiana Paris.
Tiana Paris. So they were interviewing her about it, and she was talking about the audition process and how she knew she was auditioning for Marvel, but she had no idea what character. They were just like, yeah, just do this like chick from the 70s and overact and all this stuff. And she's like, okay. And that's how she got such a like crucial role, was over that one audition, not even knowing what she was auditioning for. And I was like, that's wild.
Yeah, the scene that they tested her for was the scene where Wanda's giving birth, and like they told her to overact. Yeah, so
yeah,
it was crazy. All the stuff leading up to that, like with her talking about her boss and all that stuff, and so it was that was super fascinating. I thought that was really cool too, Meg.
I'm like, we have hope, Ian. You can do it. You can make it. You can be an actor for Marvel.
Just randomly, like, can you just do this? Like, sure. And then, like, oh, what's he now? You're the new revamped Uncle Ben. What?
Tito Ben.
Tito Ben.
You're a Tito to a Ben.
With great power. Oh,
Ian, you could totally play Jacob. What is his name? Batalan. The future version of him, the older version of what's his name in the show? Ned.
Yeah,
Ned. Yeah, Ned.
Oh,
the older Ned. That'd be fun.
When's that coming out?
Is that coming out before Doctor Strange?
Yes,
I'm so
I believe
confused now.
it's Spider-Man because they're currently filming. Like once WandaVision was done, they went straight to England to tape to film Doctor Strange, and I believe it's still going. So,
are they wrapped for Spider-Man though? Are they done with Spider-Man? I know they were filming in the winter and there was like snow and all that stuff. But...
yeah, I think the last thing I heard, well, this is from a couple of weeks ago, but they were filming a court scene. So they haven't really. They were looking for extras for a court sequence. That's what they were. That's what I remember hearing the latest from.
Because lawyers are commonly known as the devil for their trickery, and therefore Mephisto is a lawyer. And
oh, okay. I thought you were gonna go with the other devil,
Cage's Ghost Rider.
Oh,
the other devil who dares people to do things.
Who is a lawyer?
Who's a lawyer?
Oh my gosh.
Which he's rumored to be on.
Which makes sense because Marvel just got the rights back to it. So,
got you.
Yeah. Or the other lawyer that they're going to do a show for, right?
That's true.
She-Hulk,
yeah.
So.
Wait, awesome. They are?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, random fun fact: if you have Disney Plus, and you want to watch everything from the beginning chronological order of Marvel Universe, there is an option on Disney Plus. Weird. I just saw it today.
That's
yes.
Right,
everybody. Yes.
But that is.
We wouldn't even need court. I mean, that's the whole point of Ghost Rider. We don't need the judicial system anymore.
So I'm trying to think. The earliest one, would that be the stuff from the war between the Svartalheim and like Odin's son or his whatever Odin's father?
What you talking about chronology?
Yeah, like chronologically speaking.
I think she means you can watch it chronologically of what like they've actually produced.
Yeah, on Disney.
Yeah,
like,
so it's like
and all that stuff.
The playlist. Oh, it's timeline order. So the playlist is Captain America, the first Avenger, then Captain Marvel, Iron Man 2, Thor, Avengers.
This is what you have to cut up movies. You have to cut up the movies.
Iron Man
He was
3.
on another level. He was on another level when he was trying to figure it out.
The prequel from Thor 2.
Ian was hoping somebody was going to be reading the old, Nordic texts of and Odin's son betrothed to
like the Bible.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Theory crafting, Rance, you hopped on for theory crafting. We're going to talk about
I really don't. I just take whatever.
Tin hat.
Yeah.
What's your tin hat theory?
Nah, you know what? I'm not. You know me. I'm not the Marvel person. That's why I didn't make it to the comic book crew recording. But I removed myself. But my wife and I, we started watching like new rock stars and stuff like that on like these YouTube personalities. And so we had no idea who Mephisto was, but then by the end of it, like we're like, where the hell is Mephisto? Like we're so passionate about all these things, like got riled up. And I was reading some article, like I forgot where it was, like super satirical. It's like, how dare Marvel not deliver at things that they never promised on.
Yeah.
Which is like
Exactly.
Yeah, when you're saying Father Raj, like I enjoy that they didn't bring in like Doctor Strange, they didn't bring in Mephisto or Big Bad at the end, so that they can just focus in on.
They
that.
did bring a Big Bad at the end.
Grief.
Wanda.
Grief.
Yes.
Wanda.
Oh, Wanda. Yeah.
I don't know. I had this weird feeling like watching her learning from the Darkhold. I'm like, isn't the Darkhold a bad book? I was like, I'm
It's
just like,
super bad.
It's like the big bad. Yeah, it's the
maybe she's the big bad, and then
like
Stephen
Necronomicon
Strange and
level.
Spider-Man have to fight.
I mean, with all our journeys, the big bad is ourselves.
Was it the
Hero's
Dark One
Journey.
in Agents of Shield too? Was it that bad?
It was. It wasn't.
It was in
It was an
Agents of
Agents of Shield. It was in well, not in Cloak and Dagger, but in the crossover episodes with Runaways. So the Darkhold was in both those. Actually, the Darkhold pictured in Runaways and in Cloak and Dagger is the exact same Darkhold that was in Agents of Shield. So like the way that it's printed, it actually says Darkhold on the cover of the book. So that's why a lot of people are saying, "Oh, Agents of Shield and Runaways and Cloak and Dagger aren't canon anymore," because it's a different Darkhold. But I just feel like, I mean, it's a mystical book; it can change.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mikey.
It's probably changed throughout
I felt bad about not having the supplemental reading done. So, it's like,
Yeah. I mean,
The big bad is student debt. I feel that.
Oh yeah, sorry. Matt's comment's hella funny. Big bad is student debt.
It's true.
Going back to
Darcy's.
It's so interesting how I feel like there's this interesting dynamic of going back to releasing an episode every week. Like we're like millennials, we're used to this, but does it feel weird? Like people are like, "Oh man, I love the slow burn of WandaVision. It's released every week." But like, isn't that what we grew up with in kids? Like,
yeah,
why is it so different?
I'm still waiting for like these Gen Z people to be like, can we just have one thing where there's a bunch of different channels on it and we all can just switch between them? You mean cable?
Go back to it.
Go back to cable.
Can we be all united when we watch this one thing? I just hate how like you started at a different time and other people started at a different time. Is there a way that we could all watch it at the exact same time?
So there's no spoilers.
Yeah.
Or like I had students who are just like, "Oh my gosh, I love the shuffle play on Netflix because like I don't know what's gonna be next," and I'm just like, "You want that feeling?"
That's called putting in random numbers.
Millennials have created things, so we never have to have that feeling again.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh, any Gen Z?
I mean, I really like the episodic. I really like the episodic thing. Just to speak to it, it allowed for like really cool conversations. Like I remember, even with my sister, with other family members, with friends, I was just like, oh, we just connected on like, okay, what's the thing? But like, I didn't have an attitude. I was about like. I didn't get my hopes up too high because I knew they had finished the script and before anybody's theories came out and all that stuff, and I think it's also suffered. I mentioned this last night in the chat for Average Nerds, but I think it suffered from the fact that the Mandalorian had a super huge reveal at the end.
Yeah, that's a big one.
And it made it seem, and then Paul Bettany's kind of trolling of us all. That helped.
Amazing troll.
But I really like the idea of like, okay, at the end of the episode, just not even looking up things. And I appreciate Mikey's comment about, he really enjoyed it even without digging into everything. Just the notion that like, okay, you're a cliffhanger and it allows you to kind of make your head canons or your own theories. I thought that was super fun.
Yeah.
I actually didn't read up anything until today, like after finishing the whole thing. Because like I'm not usually the person that like reads the articles as it's going, and so it was interesting to like look back at like the articles that came out each week, and like knowing what I know after watching everything, it's like the articles that would come out each week and seeing like what people were saying. I thought that was so interesting, because like you said, Father, I was like I miss that idea of like people having those conversations after each episode, like what's gonna happen next, versus. It's very different from the conversations that happen after a whole season.
binging, right? With the binging phenomenon.
Yeah.
It reminds
I
me of
find
like
it
when,
super funny. Oh, good. Good.
no, like I'm trying to remember now, like in the '90s when they're watching Star Trek Next Generation, and then the episode where Picard becomes a Borg, and that was it. That was the cliffhanger, and everyone's just like, you had to wait. It was the end of the season, so you had to wait months until, and you're just like, come on, like, yeah, like, and the internet wasn't as crazy as it was back then or now. So go ahead, Father. Sorry.
No, I was going to say, when you talk about the binging culture of watching Netflix shows now, like I find it hilarious that when a new show comes out, like Cobra Kai, right, a new season, you get all the episodes, right? But it's so funny that you'll go to like some of these media websites, and they're reviewing every episode as if like, they're not going to watch. They didn't binge it all. Like it's like after each episode, they're gonna. It's so funny. Like I'm like. Like I'm gonna stop after watching this and go read like your mini review of the one episode. Anyway, I just find that super funny.
Oh yeah, no, definitely, Mikey. Like I think like when it comes to like Easter eggs and shows like this, like people aren't really always meant to like dissect it to the extent that a lot of articles do. It's just like you feeling seen because you're part of this community and you know where that's from. Like the Halloween episode where you see all the costumes, like being able to recognize those things gives you that sense of joy where you're just like, wow, I'm part of this small group, this community that knows what that means and other people might not.
And
Except
also
I recognize none of that. I understand. I'm excluded.
I was gonna say, like, also now with the Easter eggs, Marvel knows you're looking out for them, so it's just like they will put things to misdirect you, which this whole entire thing was like the reveal about Pietro, like that reveal, like everyone's like, oh, it's the combination of the universes, they're actually doing it, and like, nope, we know you're gonna think that. Or like Dottie, purposely not giving Dottie any information, like no one knowing anything about Dottie, so it was like, oh, is that the bad guy, that sort of deal.
Well, I think the Dottie troll for like deep, theory crafters was even more fascinating because, like, the fact that Marvel used her name, which is loosely associated with another witch in the comic books, like those people were like, "Oh, we figured it out." Marvel was like, "Nope."
Marvel knows what they're doing. They're just like they're messing with us all. They know we're gonna try, so they might as well just put random things for misdirection.
Exactly. And I just imagine, or actually, some of them have talked about it in interviews since. Like they would like text or message one another and say, like, "Did you see this crazy theory that people, like people that were involved in the show, after the episode would come out, they would talk about the way that they got fans like going down really crazy rabbit holes. Trolling is hard."
Oh, Matt has an interesting. Binge culture has really changed the game for set design. I think of Mike Schur shows and all the detail. It's true. And the fact that you can pause and replay.
So Mike Schur, for those that don't know, is a writer for The Office, and then went on to do Parks and Rec, and then he did Good Place too. Is it? I don't watch that, so I want to watch it so I can listen to your guys' episode, but one day. But yeah, so that level of detail. Of like the things that are on the bulletin boards or the things that are in the that might actually be in the shot. Yeah, binge watching has definitely changed that, I guess.
That's true.
Fun. So Captain Falcon.
Gosh,
Next week.
Mikey, I can only imagine how like no Pietro.
From the Fox universe.
God bless you.
When I saw him, I was like, because I hadn't like watched or seen anything on social media prior to WandaVision, like any of the stuff that people were talking about, or even that he was going to be in the show. And then so when I watched it, I was just like, why are you here? Go back to American Horror Show or whatever it's called.
I actually thought it was super clever because it's like, so when Jack Schaefer talks about this, that like the only reason they cast him was because of the sitcom kind of trope of people getting recast.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and so that was super funny for them to be like, oh, if we're going to recast a character, let's make it this like hat tip to the other Quicksilver, the other Pietro.
Yeah.
And I thought it was brilliant. And then Darcy's line makes it perfect, right? Like, I can't believe they
Did she
recast
recast
Pietro.
Yeah.
So I thought it was brilliant.
was cool.
I didn't feel angry at it all.
Yeah.
I wasn't angry. I was just like, what? What is
No,
happening?
yeah.
No, yeah, that was me. Like at 1 a.m. just watching. It's like, what? Why? It's going on. Just go
Even
away.
Machi started barking. He wasn't alive when those movies came out.
Oh man. Although I wish they had done one of the Fox Quicksilver kind of slow motion.
Oh yeah, time
80s.
slows down and then he just
Yeah.
While
walks.
he's just moving things. Yeah.
I really wish they would have done one of those.
Sweet dreams are made of...
It wouldn't really.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It
Bullet
wouldn't
time,
go
yes,
with
Mikey, bullet
the
time.
style of the show, though.
No,
So,
but it would have been fun to just
Yeah.
have it.
Not for the 80s sitcom. Put in
It could-
80s song.
It could happen when they were the Halloween episode when they were just doing all the shenanigans. It could have been that.
That's
Oh,
true.
What was everyone's? I know you talked about it earlier, but what was everyone's favorite like sitcom era in WandaVision? What was like the ones that you like? Which one? I'm trying to think. I just enjoyed 2000s, like the family. Oh my gosh.
The Modern Family.
Modern
Modern Family.
Oh wow, that was bad. I was just laughing because it's like man, this word really you can really see where sitcoms have changed, like
Yeah.
evolved, and it's like hilarious. See where it
And
come from. And
all the like the cliche like kind of jokes where it's like there's like the jokes that are just like very much like we've seen this in so many sitcoms of that era. Or like when I think of the modern one, where like she's like, "Oh, can you just see this mole on my back that I like that came up out of nowhere?" And I'm just like, I can't remember what show I've heard that line from, but I know there's so many shows in this era that like has that line of like a weird neighbor asking such a thing. Like I don't know, like it's like I thought it was interesting.
Yeah,
That's funny.
I really liked the most modern one too, with the interview style thing. I thought when Vision is doing his interview, like the question is like, why?
Where are you?
Stop? Yeah, and then and then he like admits that like, why am I here? I'm supposed to be doing something.
Yeah.
Like, why am I wearing this mic? I thought it was great. I like that. I did like. I wish. I mean, I know. I wish the episodes were longer, all in general, so that we could get more development in some of that. I get why they couldn't do it and all that stuff, but I thought some of the techniques in the '70s one with the Brady Bunch stuff and like the jump cuts of like the costume changes, I thought that was super done well and really really funny, and the overacting, as Meg was mentioning, I thought the overacting was like spot on, so it was super hilarious. So
yeah, I think what I enjoyed too is like when they broke the fourth wall, or like when Wanda does like jump cuts to change it up. Like the tension is so good because they kept the like scene in that era. Like I think it was when's the first real like the really creepy jump cut I think was with the '70s one, where it went to like Vision's face, and it's like, oh my gosh, like what the heck, what's going on?
yeah.
But yeah. What about you, Japes? Which era did you like?
I really liked the Malcolm in the Middle. I thought that was cool because that's the trope of them looking at like breaking the fourth wall, like them actually talking to like the kids talking to us and everything like that. I thought that makes it my favorite, but also watching the behind the scenes, seeing how they did practical special effects for the older episodes. Like there was no CGI for all those things. Like when the things are flowing in the air and everything, all that's practical. They had wiring and everything. And like the designer for those, I forget exactly, but his teachers were like from that era, so he knows all those techniques. Yeah.
He learned from the people who were doing the effects on Bewitched.
Yeah.
What? That's
so
crazy.
like all of that was practical. Like every time like Wanda would do something, it would be a cut. Okay, bring the thing in, and then action. Like then they would just go back into it and everything like that. It was like there was that's
So I love that intentionality. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
the intentionality to make it really authentic in like every aspect. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Even
that's a Disney thing, isn't it? That's one of their
partially,
core
but
values.
I think it was also the showrunner Jack Schaefer and the directors that really there's another thing, and I don't want to, now we're like spoiling the documentary, but like another like cool fact is that for those earlier periods, the 50s and the 60s, the crew, the people who were filming, the people who were holding the boom mics and all that stuff, they were wearing the period clothing, right?
Oh,
so
what?
like it wasn't just like so the whole thing was supposed to feel like that it was in that era, set in that era.
Yeah,
They
like
were using cameras of that era, all that stuff.
like they said that they
Baptized.
pretty much, yeah, the director and everything had a meeting, or they had a lunch with Dick Van Dyke.
Yeah.
So they learned like, okay, so like how did they film the Dick Van Dyke Show, and he just explained it all to them, and that's how they did it. They just decided to keep it like that.
That's why. Wow. Maybe that's why they did sitcoms. They were like, you know what? Who do we have on payroll that is trained by someone? Oh yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Hey, Dick Van Dyke? Yeah, hit him up. Okay, yeah, let's do this. Let's do it. Well, we got to fill out the rest of it. Yeah, let's just do 60s, 70s, 80s. Ah, perfect. That was the pitch. I think that's the board. That should go.
That
on the
might have
board.
been it. That might have been
Yeah,
it.
we have to watch that. Okay, we'll have to watch the series now.
I think it's good. It's longer than any WandaVision episode. So
Yep.
it's like 50 minutes or something, like 49 minutes.
So,
But it's
so that
super
begs-
interesting.
It is. It's
Okay.
super fascinating.
So that begs the question then, do you think that, and like, how are they able is it the execution of all this that made it successful? Is it the fact that it's Disney? Is it because it's so jarring from Marvel films that makes it so successful to do it? Because if you think about it, it's like, it could easily be said, oh, it's a pastiche, right? It's a parody, and it's kind of cheap to just, do a parody of something. It's kind of tried, but why, how did it become so like, this is amazing art? Why is it lauded now? Sorry, I'm totally taking like the questions.
Is it?
Go ahead.
Well, I mean, where's this coming from? So you did some
I think
reading.
so.
Is
I
it
think
super
that-
popular? I don't know.
No, I think it's like being lauded, right? But sometimes when you see someone do like a parody of like older stuff, it's like, oh, it's a parody. Like pastiche is the word. Am I using that, Father Raj? Like from our literature class? Like
Yeah.
you're using it just as a gimmick, right?
I think because they did a vision of the they did a vision of the whole story. It made sense. It wasn't just like, hey, we're gonna do this mockery of these things for no reason. Like the fact that it connected to Wanda's actual story, I think was really like just. It was for me. I thought it was like, wow, that's a really brilliant connection. That like in every moment of her life, she found comfort in these TV shows, right? Or they were associated with moments of comfort, and so that's what she returned to in grief. We didn't talk about it in the podcast episode, but like, we always see it. People go back to the places when they're grieving. They go back to old memories, or they go back for Wanda, her comfort was these TV shows, and so I think that's part of it. Like, so it wasn't just a trope just to be, just for a gimmick. It actually had purpose.
Yeah.
Well, I would say like it was. Doesn't James Baldwin have a quote about how, you go through grief and you think, oh, no one understands what I'm feeling, and then you read. Right. So like good literature, connects you to the human experience. And so I would say this is in that vein of connecting us to the human experience. And for us modern people, what's more human than recasting our nostalgia, right? Like all these old things that we've done or seen, and then using it in a story of grief.
Makes sense.
Via Nick at Nida.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I was dying at that line doing it earlier.
Via Agativa.
Via Agativa. You guys are hilarious. Oh man.
The new probiotic yogurt coming out from TU.
Commercials, dude. Yeah. Favorite commercials?
Um,
The 90s one, just because it weirded me out. The
shark?
The yogurt?
Yeah, the yogurt one, because the ending, I was like, what just happened? Like it got me the most. It made me react the most. Everything else I thought was a nice.
Yeah.
Cool. And I liked how everyone immediately was like, it's the Stones. That's exactly what every single commercial was. It was supposed to be a stone, but it clearly ended up becoming not.
I think they
The
they
toaster
talked
one
about
I thought was really smart. The Stark toaster and how it
Mhm.
beeped.
Yeah.
And it was like
Mhm.
unnerving the amount of beeps it did and the way it beeped. And I'm like, why? What's going on there? And then you realize in her memories, like,
And then like the small nod to Hydra in the commercial after that one, I think.
Yeah,
I
the
want to
watch
know.
struck her.
Yeah.
I want to know what the lady that's in like pretty much every commercial. Like, what's her story?
Well,
What's
that was
going
my
on
hot
there?
take or my theory craft for the whole season. I was like, are they going to like introduce her as the original Scarlet Witch? And this is how they're going to explain how Wanda got her powers before the Mind Stone, right? Like that she is really like because for those that know in the comics, like they retcon that she's a mutant. She's not a mutant anymore, right? She got her powers because she is actually a daughter of the original or one of the previous Scarlet Witch, Natalia Maximoff. And so I thought it was Natalia Maximoff. I thought it was going to be her mom. That was my theory, which is not necessarily dead, but who knows?
That'd be interesting.
Well, she is.
Wait.
Yeah, the man was the same too in the commercials. Yeah.
Sorry. I read that as like the man and the woman were the same actors. And I was like,
Getting flashbacks to the A Whole New World. Like, what do you call it?
oh man. Wait,
One person, Whole New World cover.
Again, comic book nerd here. So originally she was the daughter of Magneto. That's what made her
Yeah.
a mutant. But then
Yeah.
are you saying in the latest?
So they
mainline
revealed
or-
so they revealed in the comics that that was all fake. Like Magneto helped raise her and Peter, but that they weren't really they weren't the children of Magneto. They were somebody else's children. He still treats them like in the current comics. Magneto still treats them as like his own. Like there's in one shot of one of the most recent comics, House of X. You see, I think Magneto's email list and the things he's sending out, and he sent out an email to Wanda saying, checking in on her. Like you can see it in the thing, but yeah. So yeah,
So interesting moment to see Magneto's email list.
Well, have you seen it, JP, or no? Are you just...
No, I haven't, but now I'm just imagining it. It's just like not expecting it. You switch to like what? Oh, he sends out.
What junk mail does he have? New at Michael's Craft Organization.
Or you see a bunch of like emails to IT, like I fried another hard drive again. Need another one. Damn it
You
again.
think I would know not to do this?
Oh man, that was fun. Yeah, I'm looking forward to. Do you think?
Magneto would make an appearance? I think so.
Yeah, wasn't
That
it
was the
someone
rumor
like-
too, right? That was the rumor. Oh, we're gonna get Magneto, or we're gonna get Professor X. It's gonna pop in. It's like, what? It's like, okay, you guys are doing too much.
Because didn't someone compare
Yeah.
like the way Wanda like waved the guns was like the same way Magneto did it? Wasn't there like some sort of...
yeah.
You mean like a person with powers would actually do it? I would think I would just do that to like do things.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. One of my favorite theories was that we were going to see Robert De Niro or Al Pacino as Mephisto. I was still hoping for that. I'm still hoping for that because we can still see it.
Oh my gosh!
It would be so good. It would
I need
be
to
so
check my
good.
balance.
Yeah, Pacino's devil before, right?
Yeah.
You could play the
Yep.
devil again.
Oh, no, I was referencing a thing with
my balance.
Bill Hader playing Al Pacino checking his balance at the bank.
That's a
Oh
good.
man,
SNL, look it up.
I could post it. I could share it. It's our stream. We can do whatever we want.
So this is Twitch
did you guys see
Live.
the video of yeah, this is just twitching. JP, you're the pro.
What? I play video games. We're not playing.
you know.
Father Raj has got the delay. Oh no. You okay there? Oh, he's gonna
Uh-oh.
respond in
Uh-oh.
2, 3.
Oh, what's up? Sorry.
Oh, I think you have a delay on your side.
That
Oh.
mountain delay.
How about now? I'm in the mountains.
It's extremely subjective because I don't know how fast you're trying to be versus like how fast you are.
Cute, sweet dreams are made of me. And he ends up in like all of our streams, like in our.
I wasn't trying to say anything if like you were wondering.
Yep. Yeah, I think he has the delay.
I like how Machi's finally asleep and it's the end of the podcast.
Okay, now we can start the podcast.
All right.
All right. Bye, guys. Good luck. Round 2.
Oh.
Wait, can you hear me now? Am I still on delay?
No, you're
it's starting
good.
to sync a little bit better. Yeah.
But yeah, you're good. You're fine. At least it wasn't happening during the recording.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna. Are we going? Are we signing out? I'm gonna. My power is at 7%.
Okay.
Should I go get my cord?
I think.
Or are we?
I think.
Yeah, we can hang up here and then maybe we'll hang out on our own. Patreon subscribers, this is great for if you wanna join our hangout.
We'll have an after party, Father Rush. Just us.
After
Just
party.
us 4.
I don't know. Like I'm at like 6%. Should I go get it or not?
Yeah, go for it. But we'll sign off. Just do our sign off. Bye everyone.
Bye-bye.
Later, guys.
Bye. Thanks for hanging out on Twitch. See us on all our social media.
WandaVision.
Later.